Yeah, that's the trickiest thing. When you feel like the total wrath of the opposition, it's hard to be like, but they do have a point about these certain things.
You got to do that, though.
You have to, or else you just become the same fraud that you
them.
hate.
Yeah, you become them, and I don't subscribe to that. I think you have to always say what you actually think about things and look at them objectively if you can. You know, and sometimes we're gonna fail at that because we're gonna be in the moment. You're gonna be overwhelmed or captured or trapped in your thoughts. But at the end of the day, we all want similar things. We all want a peaceful society where your children and your family and your friends can prosper, and you want people to have the freedom to live the way they choose. The problem is when people start infringing on other people's freedoms. Yeah. That's what drives me crazy. That's what's driving me crazy about this gay marriage thing, and that's what's driving me crazy about this abortion thing. It's like, who are you to fucking tell people what they can and can't do? Like, it's not what benefits us as a culture. What benefits as a culture is trying to see how the other people see and feel and find common ground.
You don't even have to agree, but like a lack of rigidity. Like, I think most human beings, right? I don't care how liberal you are. Most human beings who have had a kid will say at a certain point in time in the belly, it's a human.
Yes.
9 months.
Right. It's a fucking
human. It's a fucking human.
Right.
Okay, so we agree at a certain point it's a human. Then we can back up from then when the right or wrong or when somebody's right it is to terminate that thing. 1 week? Okay, who knows?
Yeah.
But we to look at somebody and go, 9 months, you should be able to do it. That's a little much, I think, for most people, if you're being honest.
Right.
1 week, we don't even know if it's going to come to term. I think 25% of I think women that are pregnant end up having miscarriages. Some of them don't even know it because they think it might be their period. Like, it's a very common thing that happens. So if we just had a little bit more like elasticity and we could just be like, hey, I agree there's a point in time where, it definitely is a life and that'd be a little bit too much.
Right.
8 months that's a lot. Well, a week, 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, 2 weeks is like we got like 30 cells?
Yeah.
What is it? It's like one of those really complicated and messy human dilemmas. And that's what abortion is.
Yeah.
There's no I mean, some people are like at the moment of conception. And I think most of those people, that's a religious notion.
And that's okay too. I'll go, okay, I understand where you're coming from for that perspective because you believe in that. And that's okay. And I understand why you feel that way.
Yeah.
I'll just say that. And then I'll go, but what about these horrible circumstances? Wouldn't you feel like it might be okay in these horrible circumstances? And then if they could just remove themselves from the group for a second and be like, okay, maybe in those, I'm not saying I'm giving you permission. Ultimately, it's like God who gives the permission, but I see why someone would want to.
Yeah.
That's all you have to say.
Yeah.
And then you don't feel like you're calling someone an asshole and a murderer every fucking 2 seconds.
Right.
You can't have a conversation with someone who goes, you're a murderer.
But then you have people that like show up at these rallies and like brag about how many abortions they've had.
That's the extreme that we're talking about. It's just like,
and that drives people.
Proud of that?
It polarizes people in the opposite way.
Yeah.
You know, there's a funny clip, not funny, but it's very telling from Joe Biden, and it's from like the 1980s, where he said abortion should be legal and it should be rare. And and that it's always tragic, but it should be rare. And it's very interesting because it's such a nuanced perspective in comparison to the way he talks about it now. And just the party. Like, the party has a line. Like, someone told me this of Elizabeth Warren, that what she does is she has interns that search on Twitter for how people think about things.
And then she just takes
that's what she runs with. That's what she talks about. I don't know if that's true, but I knew if you want to say like cynically about certain politicians, for sure they do that. There's certain politicians that don't give you any feeling whatsoever of sincerity and of being a real human being. No. They seem like they're just poll machines, and
it's
that's
a job.
And that's what scares people if you're talking about people's rights.
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking about a woman's right to choose, if you're talking about a gay person's right to be married, it's like to have people they have these rigid poll-oriented perspectives on this, where I'm on the right-wing party, so I am going to say this because this is what my side believes and this is what my side wants. Like,